911, what's your emergency? There's something outside my house. It's not a person. I don't know what it is. Then, silence. This was the last known communication from David Carter, a 28-year-old software engineer who vanished without a trace just minutes after that call. No forced entry, no signs of struggle, no clues, just an empty home with the phone left off the hook. What really happened that night? And why does it fit into a chilling pattern of disappearances that everyone seems to ignore? Buckle up. This story is about to change the way you think about sound and what it can do. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because once you hear what David Carter heard, there's no going back. Now, let's begin. It was March 12th, a cold, quiet night. David had been working from home alone in his small apartment on the outskirts of town. At 2:35 a.m., he sent a routine work email, nothing out of the ordinary, but at 2:37 a.m., his internet connection suddenly cut out. His phone log reveals multiple frantic attempts to reach someone, friends, family, perhaps a co-worker, but none of the calls went through except one, the 911 call. After that single, desperate call, nothing happened. At 2:51 a.m., police arrived. The door was locked from the inside. The lights were still on and his chair was left pulled out as if he'd just been sitting there. But the phone remained off the hook. And his last whispered words on that call? It's here. But what was here? And where had David Carter gone? A cold shiver runs down your spine as you imagine the deserted room, an eerie silence punctuated only by the remnants of static. Every detail feels deliberate, as if the very walls hold secrets waiting to be uncovered. When officers searched the apartment, they found something that sent shivers down everyone's spine. David had been typing a document moments before he vanished, a document still open on his computer screen. It wasn't an email or a note to a friend, it was a warning. If anything happens to me, it's because I heard the sound that doesn't belong. A sound, a tiny detail that might have been dismissed as paranoia, but soon it became the key to a terrifying mystery. David Carter wasn't the first to vanish like this, and he wouldn't be the last. In the dim glow of a computer screen, the words seemed to pulsate with foreboding energy. Every keystroke echoed like a countdown to a mystery that defies explanation. Investigators felt as though they were stepping into a labyrinth where every corridor led to deeper, darker secrets. Over the past 10 years, 5 other individuals have disappeared under eerily similar circumstances. They lived in different cities and led different lives with no obvious connection, except one thing. They all reported hearing something unusual before they vanished. Some described it as a low hum, barely audible at the edge of hearing. Others said it was a sharp, piercing frequency that felt like nails scraping on glass. One survivor, Maria Delgado, experienced it firsthand. She disappeared for 17 hours, only to be found wandering barefoot, her skin etched with tiny scratches. When questioned, she refused to explain further, only whispering, "I let it in." 3 months later, unable to cope with what she'd experienced, she took her own life. Eyewitnesses recall a palpable sense of dread before each disappearance. The descriptions, though varied, paint a disturbing picture of a sound that invades the mind, a harbinger of doom that leaves behind more questions than answers. The unexplained nature of these events continues to haunt investigators. Investigators then turned to David's apartment security cameras, hoping for clear answers. Instead, the footage raised more questions. At exactly 2:37 a.m., precisely when David made his 911 call, the cameras glitched. Not a sudden blackout, not static, but a sudden blinding white screen that lasted for exactly 19 seconds. Beneath that overwhelming white, a distorted sound wave emerged. Sound engineers, upon isolating the frequency, uncovered something even more chilling, a barely audible voice whispering in a language no one could identify. Slowing down the recording, one phrase became disturbingly clear: "It knows your name." Every frame of that footage was scrutinized over and over by experts. The whiteout, as mysterious as it was brief, hinted at an interference not of this world, an anomaly that defied logic and beckoned further inquiry into a force beyond our comprehension. By this point, the case had morphed from a simple missing person into something far more sinister. Investigators discovered that David had been researching a particular frequency before his disappearance, a frequency discovered back in 1989 during an experimental study on human perception. That study was abruptly abandoned after all the scientists involved either disappeared or were found dead under bizarre circumstances. The surviving documents described a sound wave so precise that it could bypass the conscious mind and embed itself deep within the subconscious. And once you heard it, you could never unhear it. The notion of a forbidden frequency raises unsettling questions. Could a sound possess the power to manipulate thoughts, to invoke terror so profound that it erases the line between reality and nightmare? This unsolvable puzzle has captivated researchers, each new piece of evidence adding to the dark enigma. Before vanishing, one of the missing researchers left behind a handwritten note. It contained only 3 sentences. Do not listen to it. Do not let it in. Do not let it know your name. And now, you've heard it too. What happens next might already be beyond our control. These stark words resonate like an ominous prophecy. They serve as a dire caution, a final, desperate plea from someone who knew too much and paid the ultimate price for their knowledge. This is only the beginning. In episode 2, we'll dive into the full-scale investigation. The scientists who analyzed the sound, the bizarre, unexplainable data they uncovered, the terrifying connection linking these cases that no one dares to discuss. If you want to know the truth, subscribe now, hit that notification bell, and be ready. Because in episode 2, the real nightmare begins. As the echoes of that mysterious sound fade, a chilling anticipation lingers. The unanswered questions multiply, leaving us on the edge of a revelation that promises to blur the lines between myth and reality.